Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our February 21st meeting. I am Rashmi Krishnaraj. We have co-president of the council. We have Francis, my co-president, Eleni, the secretary, and Christine, the treasurer. We welcome you together in this evening. Thank you, Superintendent DeMango, Esther, and Louis for helping us out and to be a part of this meeting. We also have few guest speakers. We have Rebecca from the art studio. I don't know, Rebecca, if you are here yet or not. Are you here?
I don't think so.
She's not here
she
yet.
should
Okay.
She'll be on soon.
So she'll be later. Okay. And then we have Deborah. Is
That's
Deborah
it.
from 209?
Yes.
Okay, Deborah from 209, she is going to continue talking about the virtual programming. And we do have Annie from PS 242 PTA who's going to give us some new information. So without further delay, let's start with our first order of business, which is the minutes. So I guess I can share my screen now. Let's see. Share screen. Oops. Oh no, this one. Can you guys see it?
Go to the first page.
Oh, yeah. But you can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
there you go.
'Cause I cannot see now anybody. All right.
So I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, Francis, we haven't gone through it yet. I just want to make sure everybody sees both pages. Can we have motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion, Francis.
So second, great. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Great. We have fun evening today. As I stated earlier, we could not get the person from Trust and Trace. If that topic is still important to all of us, then please let us know and we will try our best to get a speaker for next meeting. And feel free to always email us to our Gmail address. And we do have some important updates. We have photo updates that we're going to talk about more in detail later. So, and just one more order of business before we pass on the mic to Superintendent DeMango. Sorry, guys, I can't see my screen, so I have to keep pausing it. Christine, what is the treasurer's report? Do we have the same?
I'm sorry, who approved the minutes? Francis and who else?
Christine.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Hold on. The treasury report did stay the same. It's still 4,019. I apologize, and 57 cents. Nothing has happened.
Okay, great.
For the treasury report.
Thank you. And I think Louis shared, what is this, Louis, that you shared for us to sign in, right?
Yeah, should be, right?
That's it, yep.
Okay, perfect, yeah. Parents, please do sign in. I mean, everybody, I guess, not just parents. And I guess I'll pass the floor to our superintendent for her report.
So to just go over a couple of things, let me just pull this up. So as you know, We are welcoming back our middle school students on Thursday, February 25th. We're very excited about that. And we are asking all parents to submit COVID-19 testing consent forms prior to your child returning to school. There's two easy ways to do it. You can fill out the form online using your New York City account, your My Student at NYC, or you can print and sign the form and have them bring it into the school on the first day. There's a printable PDF file that's available in 10 languages on the DOE public website. I will actually place that in the chat. I clicked on the link by mistake. Hold on. I'll place the link in the chat for those of you who may need it. Applications to apply to high school are also due this week, February 23rd. You can apply to 12 programs with your personalized high school application. As we say, it's always really important for you to make sure that you check with your child's middle school guidance counselor if you have any questions or concerns. You can visit myschool.nyc to access your My Schools account, explore different high school programs and options, and build your applications and apply online. As we said, visit My Schools NYC to register for LaGuardia High School auditions. The deadline to register is also February 23rd. Deadline to apply to kindergarten is over. Pre-K applications will open on February 24th, and the deadline to apply is April 7th. We have a new interacting principal, PSMS 200, and for those of you who know Mr. McAuliffe, we are thankful for the time he spent in District 25, but he is embarking on a new journey with his family in their move to Arkansas. So beginning March 1st, Tracy Harrison will be serving as interacting principal of the school, and we welcome her to the PSMS 200 community. Also, as I had announced at the CEC meeting, there is a link that actually, Louis, if you could put in the chat, where parents can check for COVID school closures and COVID classroom closures by map. So, it's under the NYC DOE, and you look under quick links, and there's a daily COVID case map. But Louis, can you? I don't know. Is there a link that you can include for them?
Yep, it's in the chat.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And I know we're going to spend some time talking about Picture Day today from the conversation that I had with Francis and Rashmi. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk to all of you about and ask that you make part of your minutes and agendas for this month is just really talking about safety and some of the decisions that are happening at schools in terms of pickup and drop off because of the snow. I actually went on to a parent meeting right before the break because there were some schools where after the custodians would shovel the walkways, when picking up their students, they would drive up onto the sidewalk to allow students to get in cars, and people were falling actually walking around the cars. So, we have had a lot of conversations in the past as parent leaders just about pickup and drop off. Myself, I just was reading like this terrible tirade that was going on between the parents in my own town about pickup and drop off. But the one thing that we need to say is that we work together, right? And we want to make sure that our students get to where they need to be after school safely. And same thing for teachers, right? There were a couple of times we talked about that because at one of the schools, there were teachers actually getting hit by cars at arrival and dismissal. So if you can just make that part of your agenda and just a reminder around making sure that there's safe travels to and from school for our students and staff. And that's it for me. Any questions, concerns? Okay.
Oh. Danielle, that was like the the fastest and the shortest, concise. And that means we know that we are doing such a good job with the district and that we parents are just well informed. I do have a question as a parent. So parents, tomorrow is the last day for middle school admissions, right? Because the deadline was extended. Can you please tell in your own words again, because when you tell it, it becomes so crystal clear. Parents are now still asking that if they need to put zone school on their application. And even though that's not their preference, I had always said that if you have a zone school, you should put it on your application in the order of preference. Can you just like reinstate that that information?
Sure. Before I do that, Louis, I just wound up sending Stephanie a private message that has a link to, oh wait, hold on. Sorry. I got stuck and I was trying to put the link to all of you guys and I sent it directly to Stephanie Sturgeon only. So, okay, let's see. Wait, it's still doing it, Louis.
You got to change your chat to everyone,
Everyone, I did. All right, let me just try it one more time. See if it changes it.
because when someone posts in the chat and then it becomes like a private, if you respond, it just.
Yeah, but it still
automatically-
did it again. I don't know. I gotta look for it. Okay. Oh, no.
Well, maybe Stephanie can share it.
Yeah, Stephanie, can you? Oh, wait, here. I think I got it. Okay, wait. I don't even know how I did that, Stephanie. I was just talking to you. Oh, okay. You guys see it?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Oh, but the link doesn't work.
It doesn't?
all that.
Yes, it does.
I clicked it and got page not found.
Oh,
Let me see if I press it.
Let me
again.
see. Yes, it says 404 error, page not found.
oh, great. See, and here.
What is
What
this?
is it?
It's
Just
the COVID-19 form, Louis. Can you just?
Yeah, I had put it in the chat earlier. I'll do it again.
I think you're just missing the G. at
Yeah,
the
you're
end
just
of
missing
She
the
testing.
is,
in
yeah,
there.
she is.
There you
I put it in
go.
the chat again. It's fine.
All right, thank you. I was having a little chat. Yes, okay, so middle school choice in District 25, and this is where I said to you guys, it's really important to know that District 25 is a very special place, and so we have different
What is-
guidelines around middle school choice. We know that any of our parents can apply, all our students can apply to any school in the district, middle school in the district. There are some schools that are lottery schools, and we know we have strict lottery, meaning everybody's name goes into a computerized hat. They shake it around, and that's how our lotteries work. So the important piece that parents need to know is that we still have a zoned district, meaning if I could be zoned for 237 and apply to any school in the district. But here's the mistake that parents make. Just know this. If you put your zoned school first, you're going to get it. So you need to put schools that you are interested in before your zoned school and then your zoned school last. So that's where I think parents make the mistake. They'll put, one school that they're interested in, another school, and then their zone school, and then a couple of schools after that. If you put your zone school in whatever order, you will get it if you don't get the other schools that you apply for above it. Remember, you can apply for up to 12 programs. So I think that's the important piece that parents should know, is that we do have a zone priority. And if you put your zone school, you will get your zone school. But here's another important thing that we've been talking about over the past few years. Last year, they instilled a wait list, right? Which meant that if you applied, let's say, to 194 and you were zoned to IS 25 and you didn't get in, you could go on their wait list. It's the same thing with zoned. If you choose to not go to another school that you get into. So for example, if you get into Bell Academy and you choose to go and you say, I want to go back to my zone school, and there's no more room in your zone school, you go on a wait list. So that's what's really important for you to know. Historically, people used to say, I'm going to put all these schools before my zone school. And then my son or daughter would say, oh, all my friends are not going to Bell Academy. They're going to the zone school. And then the parent would say, I want to go back to my zone school. You no longer have that option if there's no room in the school. Because many years we've been an overcrowded district, there's been times where we've said to parents, like right now, the schools are overcrowded and you cannot go back there. So if there's no seats left in your zone school, you go on a wait list. So it's very important that parents know, if you're going to put other schools down, it's not because you get to pick and choose those schools. It's not like colleges, right? So I just applied to 9 colleges for my son. He got into some of them and I get to pick and choose. It's not like that for middle school choice. If you put programs that you are interested in applying to, the expectation is that you're going to go to those schools if you get in, right? So if you put Bell Academy and you get into Bell Academy, the expectation is that you go to Bell Academy, right? Because in order to be a middle school choice, we're shuffling seats around. So we still maintain priority, right? And we still maintain zone for our parents, but that's not unlimited zone. And that is a change that has occurred over the past few years.
So Danielle, this is Francis. When a parent is on a waiting list,
Hold on one second. What? Oh, yeah.
okay,
I'm sorry. That's what happens when my husband is cooking. Sorry.
that's okay.
Go ahead.
Listen, that's what happens when we do remote things.
You know, like, do I hit another kid?
So if that person who decides not to go to the school that they got accepted for and gets put on a waiting list, is that other school notified and they lose the seat there, or they have the seat until they get into the waiting list?
So you would go to the school that you got into, right?
Okay, so
Because
that
there may never be room, right? There may never be room. So if you think about it,
no, but what I'm saying is, so let's say the example you gave, Bell Academy, and if you decide to go to now your zone school, is Bell Academy still holding the seat to see if you get into your zone school, or because do you know what I mean? Do they
Yeah,
know that you're on the waiting list?
every kid gets 1 seat for middle school, and that's their seat. You
right,
can be on 10 other wait lists, and
right.
it
So
doesn't matter.
that'll remain.
Correct. You
So at
you
what
only get
point-
1 seat.
So then if you decide if you do get in, do you get into a point where someone now lost a seat at Bell Academy because they waited so long to find out that they got a seat in their zone school?
So here's the thing. That's you know, I don't know if it could be. I mean, but there may never be a seat at the zone school.
Yeah, and
know,
this
like
stuff doesn't usually resolve until after the first day of school. So where are you going on the first day of school?
Right.
Bell
So
Academy.
Okay.
right.
Okay.
And that's
A lot of this
also,
stuff happens.
just to reiterate that when people automatically know that, that they don't want to go to that school and go somewhere else, they should notify the school, because then someone else can get that seat who's on a real waiting list. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, but it shouldn't be, and this is why we say what's happened when we became overcrowded. When we weren't so overcrowded, when I first started coming here, there were people doing what I described to you, right? But that's not necessarily a choice anymore, right? So I was actually looking at projections for next year. You have 185 at 1200, 194 at 1100. Like, our schools are filled. They're full, but we're still maintaining spaces for middle school choice. So that means when you're filling out that application, the schools that you put in priority order, it means that that's where you want to attend first, right? So if you put your zone school first, you're going to your zone school, right? If you put other programs, IS 25, 185, 189, Bell Academy, and you're zoned for 194, and you get into one of those schools, the expectation is that you go to the school that you get into. So there should not be this transfer of wait lists, because the problem is you could be sitting on a wait list for 7 months right? And by that time you spent 7 months in middle school and you made your friends. And so we don't want to kind of rely on wait lists per se, because there wasn't really that much movement last year.
Okay, I see some hands up. I see Annie.
Yeah, I had a quick question in regards to waitlist. Does that also work the other way? I forgot where I read it. It says, so basically I'll use your example. Let's say you put Bell Academy as your first choice, and then you put the zone school as your second choice. Let's say you don't get a seat at Bell and we automatically transition into our zone school. Does a student automatically get put on a wait list for Bell?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They do.
So any school above the school they gained admission to, they get put on a wait list.
You got it. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and we have Margaret has a question.
Hi, my question is about zone schools. So I have some parents who do not want to put their zone school down. And they put 6 choices. And our advice to them is, if for some reason they don't get into any of the 6, they will just be placed in a school that has space. Is that correct? Because that's what we were told at our trainings, right?
That is, yeah. So every child will get a middle school seat.
Right.
So if you choose 6 schools and you get into none of them because they're all special programs, you will still get a letter or an email with an offer, with the seat. What could it be? Your zone school? Sure, it could be, but like you said, it might not be their zone school.
Right, because they don't want to put their zone school down. They think it'll hurt their chances, and I keep trying to explain
Right.
to them that that's not what's going to happen.
So I know you've been telling them this. You can just tell them you will get a middle school if it's not one of the 6 things that you ranked.
And it might
We
not
don't know
be-
what that's going to
and
be.
then it might not be the middle school that they want. It might be a
Exactly.
middle school far away, right?
And it might be further away. I said, if you put your
Because-
zone school down,
No, if you're not putting your zone school, right? Because you think it's going to hurt your chances, and you get another school, they might be giving away your seat at your zone school.
and that's what I was trying to tell them. It says, at least if you put your zone school as your last choice, at least you know it's a school instead of just, it's a crapshoot kind of. And
Well,
and
I think that, I think that I can see how they would think that, if I only put 6 schools and not my zone, it has to be one of those 6.
but it doesn't.
That's the mentality. But if they knew that it could be one they didn't even pick, then maybe they would put their zone.
It's not changing their
So
mind.
maybe
I
you
just
put
want
it
to make.
last.
So we know that we're at a place where it is like coming towards the end, and Rashmi had asked me this question, about 2 weeks ago, but just for you guys to put in your documents as parent leaders and PTAs is that at some point in the fall, we always recommend that you request the guidance counselor to come and speak to the parents about applications separate from, I know that they speak separately, but as a PTA, I always did that as well, because I think it's important that, parents hear it from as many different places as possible, because what happens is you get the conversations, just like Margaret was saying, where parents start saying like, oh, if you do it this way, it's a better, it's better chance. It's really not, right? It's like a strict lottery. There's nothing to say. They're not gonna, if I have, one choice and then my zone school, or 7 choices and then my zone, it goes by lottery. So you don't want to wind up living, being zoned for 194 and getting into, well, you wouldn't get into 237, but 237, which is all the way across the district. And I'm saying you're not going to get into 237 because it's overcrowded. So what I'm saying is you don't want to do that. You don't want to be placed in a school that just has.
What is the full screen?
So.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure I was giving my parents the right
Mhm.
information.
Superintendent Domingo, I just have one question. Say you have Bell Academy, WJPS, and then 194. Do you get waitlisted for the 2 or just your first?
I think both, right, Louis?
Yeah, you get waitlisted for any school that you did not get into.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think that just, no matter how many times, whenever Superintendent DeMango says it's so clear, and then you tell to the parents and it's like back to square one. I'm like, what? I don't want to put my zone school. I want to put my zone school, but I'm sure we all will be fine. Thank you.
I just have a question. I'm sorry, just a quick question. Maybe I missed it.
We, I don't know if it's my mic, but we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better.
If a person just puts one choice and it's not their zone school, what happens then?
It's the
Say they
same.
want Bell Academy strictly and
Bell Academy, well, I would say anyone who puts Bell Academy only is putting themselves at risk of getting into a school that only has room. Because Bell Academy normally has sometimes a 900 person wait list. So I would not put Bell Academy as my only choice. Bell Academy, their projections next year are very low. I mean, they never take more than 90 kids. You have a lot of people applying. Any parent that would only put Bell Academy, I would advise them against that.
okay, thank you. I'm on the PTA Bell Academy, but I'm asking about for some parents that are asking for Bell Academy.
Yeah, I mean, that's important to know. I mean, sometimes they take 3 classes, sometimes they take 4, but there's not, you know, we would say to a lot of parents to put Bell Academy first, but Bell Academy is not a zone school. So, and there's a lot of people that apply to it.
Correct. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mango.
You're welcome.
Great.
Oh, wait,
Francis?
Debbie, one other thing to know about Bell Academy. Bell Academy also has a priority to students who attend 169, right? So if there's, you know, 2 classes of students who put in that they want to attend Bell Academy, they get in. So that's also important for parents to know. If you're only so the question that I'm saying to you is, if you are from 169 and you're only putting Bell Academy, that's one thing. But if you're not from 169 and you're only putting Bell Academy, that's not necessarily something I would recommend.
Okay, yes, they're not coming from 169.
Yeah, so that actually
I'll let them
reduces
know.
the pool. Yeah.
Okay. And it's a family of twins, so the chances are even
It's a what?
less that the chances of the kids getting in, they're twins. A family member of mine, she asked me because my child.
I don't know. I mean, I've said, you know, you never know how the lottery is going to end. I would never say no. But what I would say is don't just put Bell Academy.
Okay, yes, that was my concern.
Okay. That was a good question, Debbie. Thank you.
Francis, do you see any other hands?
No, I don't see any other hands and no questions in the chat. Go ahead, Rashmi.
Okay, thank you. I think we should talk about the photo options, because I know that parents are we are very curious and we wanted to understand something. And before we do that, I know that unfortunately I'll have to leave in about half an hour. So I wanted to quickly update the members on one update on bylaws. We were going to present the bylaws and look at to see if we can adopt it or not. We are not going to do it this time. We will try to do it for next meeting because we are still waiting from Central to correct a statement. So we will table that for next meeting as of now. Francis, I emailed you for photos so that you can share the screen in case if I have to leave in the middle, at least it's there. So great news. the district, we have gotten consent from the district to go ahead and do some options regarding photos. And we will just have an open discussion. And I know you probably have a lot of questions, and we will answer what we can, and we have Superintendent Demango who can just clarify all your questions. So I don't know, Superintendent Demango, if you want to just go ahead and talk about it, or do you want us to present it on the screen so you can look at it and talk? Oh, I guess it's already there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just kind of throw out a couple of things that you and Francis and myself discussed. And, you know, I do want to say, I think it's important for parents, leaders to know that that your voices are heard, right? So Eleni, I know that you have kind of been on my mind a lot, just in terms of making sure that we can do pictures safely this year. I think it's important. I know that you talked a lot about it last year when we were like in the midst of a pandemic. And, you know, one of the things that we say is it's important, right? We have some memories. You know, the other day I was flipping through, I have a photo, you know, I have hanging on my wall every year, my kids since kindergarten, every year I replace the picture. So I do know that Picture Day does mean a lot to parents, and it is a huge fundraiser for PTAs, right? So I don't want to leave us out of that, but I also want us to do it in a way that's safe. I want to thank Francis and Rashmi, because I know that they worked with Class Act to make sure that we can have a variety of options. So here's a few things we talked about. And the most important part of this is I did speak to your principals, and it really is a collaboration and a conversation that we should have. So my conversations with principals starts with 5th grade and 8th grade, right? And how we can make those options work. And then if that runs smoothly, you can go back to the table for fundraising purposes and open up Picture Day in other grades. And that is not going to be managed at the district, right? That's going to be managed at the school once we make sure that this happens. So I'm going to let Rashmi and Francis go through it. But the really important piece for this that, you know, that I put out there to Francis and Rashmi, and they agreed, is that if we take on this endeavor to do 5th and 8th grade photos, we have to make sure that there's opportunities for every child to get their picture taken for any kind of yearbook or celebratory piece. I'm not talking about buying the pictures for, you know, for parents for themselves, but I don't want a child being left out of a yearbook or any kind of poster because pictures weren't taken. So I said that to the school as well. So when you sit down to meet with your principals, if you could make sure that that is part of the conversation, because there's got to be options for everyone or no one when it comes to getting pictures taken, right? So, and there's been a lot, we know that there's a lot of different ways that we can do that. And I do want to thank also the teachers that do the 5th and 8th grade activities, because they too are asking for photos. So, okay, I'll let you guys go over what we discussed and then we'll answer any questions.
Okay, go ahead, Francis. I don't want to start something and then leave in the middle.
That's okay. You can go and I'll just take over when you go.
Okay, so this is just one of the vendors that we were using it as an example. What are the different options? Obviously, you can go with any vendors that you choose to go with, but the options remain kind of the same. If you can see the screen very clearly, we have 3 options. One would be the personal studio, which I know a lot of vendors are doing already. The other is the outdoor space. At this point, the schoolyard is okay, but schoolyard is okay only if the vendors understand the safety protocols, which means they don't touch the students. They maintain a safety 6 feet distance. If they have tents, they put the tents, they take the tents out. School and school administrations are not involved in any kind of activities with the vendors. If you have remote students coming to school, that's a very school-specific discussion that has to be a collaboration with the principals to see how and if it can be worked. We are just providing options for the vendors. Some vendors said, I mean, Class Act, for example, he said for remote students, they will have a discussion with the parents. The parent will bring the student at a specific time scheduled in. They will bring the student, their own child, they will have the child taken the picture, and then they will take the child back. So there will be no touching. Everybody will be in the mask. When the pictures are being taken, the mask will come off, picture, boom, gone. There's no seats. They will all stand. So there's no touching. We did talk about cap and gown options. So some of the PTAs are already probably doing it. Their parents are already buying cap and gown action. Some PTAs said that they don't really care about cap and gowns. So this is a very specific school-oriented, community-oriented options for different schools. The other option is, which is a must for all the vendors, are option to have an online picture. So what Class Act does is they provide a link to the parents. The parents go to that link, they have a disclaimer, parents fill their form, they have all the information, and then they upload a picture to their website, and they make the picture they have a background, they make the parent choose 1 or 2 or 3 backgrounds that they have, and then they put that picture, I guess, in the yearbook. That's one of their options doing. So those are the these are the basic options. So a lot can come out of this after we discuss individually with our principals.
Yeah, so Rashmi, can I just say, one of the things we talked about, there's the 3 options that I discussed at the district level. I know that Rashmi spoke about a lot of different ways to do things with the vendors, the photography vendors. I wasn't part of that conversation, but the 3 options that we agreed upon are, students can go to a studio, their parents can bring them to the picture studio and get their pictures taken. Students can come to school and get their pictures taken at school. Now, there's 2 ways that this can be done. If your children are already in school 5 days, that is a conversation that you can have with the principal around setting up, if it's possible to set up inside. If not, we said a complete outdoor picture opportunity, but what would be necessary in order to do that should not be the responsibility of the school, right? So a school shouldn't set up a tent or anything like that. Anything that the photographer is going to bring needs to be, the photographer brings it, they go into the schoolyard, and that happens. So there's the studio, the in-school, which is most likely going to be outside. And then the third is uploading virtually, right? So those are the 3 pieces we talked about. The second thing that we said is really important as part of the conversation with your principal is to make sure that we can do this and maintain social distancing, right? So what does scheduling look like? How can we make sure that this is done quickly, but also at the same time, while we're maintaining safe social distancing? That also means that, a conversation would have to be talked about in terms of, normally the PTAs were there and they basically ran picture day, right? That's not something that can happen, right? So how will you organize that with your principal to make this a meaningful, safe process? The other piece is, caps and gowns. If you guys would want to do anything like that, know that you can't
borrow them,
use the same cap over and over and over again. Everyone would purchase one, right? So I know for my son, and I actually didn't like the way it was done. For my son, parents had to scramble to borrow caps and gowns from people the year before. So some kids have caps and gown pictures and others don't. So just make sure that you're open-minded to all of those conversations, and know that I had the conversation with principals, so they should be ready to talk about it.
Superintendent Domingo, those 3 options, you have to choose one, or you give the school all three options.
No, we said all three options. The school only has to deal with the one that's in school, right? Because if a parent's bringing their child to the studio, then they're bringing them to the studio. If a parent is sending a virtual picture in, then the parent is doing the agreement to send the virtual picture in. The only one the school would have to worry about would be the third option. But when you sit down with the photographers, you could plan all three.
Got
So
it.
it's up to the vendor, what they
Right.
can do and what
Got
they
it.
can give you. Yeah.
Great.
So Danielle, I'm sharing something that this is what the virtual would look like if people sent in the virtual. If you could see, you see where it says 8th grade on the top, everyone's sending in their pictures. And then when you look at the bottom, they all have the same background to kind of show some type of uniform, uniformity. And so as you could see, it doesn't look the greatest because you could see there's still some type of green screen effect, but that would be the choice of the parent to know that if you do it that way, they'll still get their picture in. It won't be, exactly the greatest picture, but it is an option. I just wanted to show that.
Right.
Which it doesn't look so bad if you look at it.
No, but the good thing is that parents have the option to. You have the option to upload a picture, or you have the option to go to the studio, or you have the option to, if it is possible with the school, however that in person in the yard, or however that will work out to.
Yeah, and Eleni, what we're asking is that all of those three options possibly be options, right? So we know, and Francis, thank you for showing that. We know that the sending in the virtual picture is not necessarily the best option, but that might be a better option for our remote students, right? The parents that have their kids home because they don't want them, to be right now, or maybe waiting until they're immunized to be around other people. The other piece is that's really important that parents need to know, if you're choosing the in-school option and you are a remote student, you have to come with your child and bring your child, right? You can't like send your child by themselves.
Okay, we have some questions. Tiffany?
I have a question. So if we give all three options to the parents, and now we have some parents who submitted either their picture virtually or they came to school, but you still have a bunch of students who did not come for picture day. Can they still put the kids who did participate in picture day in the yearbook, or at that point, do you not?
There has to be a mechanism to get pictures for everybody unless a parent chooses not to do that.
No, but what I'm saying is, if we say these are your options and the parent has a deadline to either send it in virtually, come into the school outside for their picture day, or go to the studio, and they do not make any of those dates, can the 5th grade or 8th graders still put the pictures that the people had sent in
So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that there should be opportunities and follow-up for at least students to be virtually part of it. Like, you can't say, we have 25 kids that didn't do it, we're going to run the yearbook anyway. There's got to be a good faith effort to try to get everybody to be part of it.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, if you're giving them a deadline, because obviously the yearbook has a deadline, and the photography companies that you're using are going to also have a deadline as to when they can fit everyone in for the in-person. The virtual, obviously they could do it at any point in time, or if they're coming into their personal studio. So after, you reaching out as a PTA and obviously as a school, if they don't meet that criteria, can the PTA use the pictures for their yearbook?
So can I just want to interject, Tiffany. I would say this, because we don't know, with everything going on, we don't know what people's dynamics is at home. And some people are very good with deadlines, and like a person like myself was very good with deadlines, and sometimes I fall through the cracks. So I think that, if you want to set up that system, I would definitely tell the parents that if we don't hear from you, this is our plan B, so that they are aware. But I would still follow up with the parents right before, because don't just assume that they just didn't respond. They might have sent it in and you may not have gotten it. So I will say, agree with Danielle to say,
Well,
you know,
yeah.
reach out to the parent. And once again, try your best to give them that opportunity and not just assume that they didn't respond. It could also mean they don't want the picture in. So any picture in. So we have to really communicate with the parents, because you don't want something printed and the parent doesn't want it there. Then that's
So,
going to
so
be a big
Tiffany,
mess.
right, so Tiffany, the
Well,
disadvantage. is-
obviously the communication isn't the
What's up?
problem,
No,
because
but-
we're
but
really good with
Tiffany- right, but
communication.
Tiffany-
It's more like,
But Tiffany, here's what I want to say. As part of my discussion and opening up this piece, I'm going to tell the schools, I don't want to hear from a parent that a kid was left out of a yearbook,
oh,
right?
of
So if
course.
you can't guarantee that, then don't do it, right? So I know that for the most part, we do have advisors that make sure those things happen. It's going to look a little different this year, but so I'm saying, look, you know, we will leave it at the school level for you guys to discuss it, but the fact that you're asking me that is concerning, and I'm not saying this to argue with you, but the fact that you're asking me that is concerning, because one of the agreements that we said is we're going to try good faith effort to make sure we get as many students as possible included.
Yes, that's what I want to do. Like, communication is not the problem. I'm just saying, at the end, after communicating with the photo company and the parents, you know, at the end, whatever is left is what I'm saying. What
You
then at
can't
that
you can't have a
point, can
parent that
we-
you can't have a parent that comes and says, I'm not in the yearbook because I didn't have transportation to the studio, or I don't have a device to take a picture and send it in. You can't have any situations like that.
So if there are
So
kids
then-
left out, then as a school and part of
And
the
I would say
conversation-
not to put them in. That's what I wanted to know. Like, then as a school, then if we can't get 100%, then, you know, then don't
I
put the
think you
picture.
might be able to, and that's what I'm saying. If you have the school working with somebody on your board and a teacher, you know, making sure that every kid, and I'm not saying there's not mistakes. I know, you know, like I still talk about my best friend was left out of the high school yearbook. Like there's always kind of stuff like that. But we go into this saying, like, what is our process to make sure if we have all these options that everyone, like, we're going to be collecting that. Like, how do we share that? You guys speak to the photographer and they give you a list of all the kids that went into the studio. You guys, you know, we have a list of everybody who got their pictures taken at school. Now it's really kind of like mostly then giving that last option to say, like, okay, so you guys didn't do these two things. What do you think about the virtual? If a parent says no, then the answer is no. And then we just document that, you know, but we just want to make sure that that's also included in the discussion, because
Yeah, and definitely talk to your principals about the options, because how do they feel about these options? You know, they may not feel so comfortable. So you have to pick something that's going to feel comfortable with everyone before you move forward in telling parents about the options, because your principals might have different ideas for these. This is just something that we are trying to give options to our district. And then, of course, we'll keep honing it as we go along. But it's just something to offer rather than not to offer something at all.
But let me ask you a question. That means, like, when you do class pictures and the kids come with their form, and then the kids that don't have their form, they don't take pictures. Our school, we take pictures of each student regardless of taking a class, paying or not paying. We always want a record of them, a picture of them. So we always ask our photographers, regardless if they're getting a package or not, we want their picture on file. So this should be the same way. Take pictures of every graduate, regardless of them buying a package or not.
Yeah, don't you do that? I thought you did that for
We
every
do that.
graduate.
We
Yeah.
do that.
We do that too.
It's a
But
little
just
different
for
during the
fifth- right,
pandemic.
just for fifth grade, like, I don't think they did that for everyone. I know they did, and sometimes they do it for IDs. So, like,
Yeah, that's what we do it for, yeah.
But that's just for in person. Now you
Yeah.
have virtual.
Right. I
So
mean,
now
that,
you're not gonna have everyone.
And you might
doing
have
that.
parents that say, I don't want the photography near my child, even if they're in
Right, so
person.
now you have you
Right.
know.
If a parent chooses to upload the picture directly to the website, directly to the
That
photographers,
should count, yeah.
say I take my son's picture at school and they upload the background. And then I just say Tiffany's son takes it virtually. Will the photographer put the same background on
Yeah, I just
Tiffany's
shared,
picture?
what it would
I'm
look
sure,
like.
yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it will have the same background, so that they look uniform.
For
But-
yearbook,
That's a question, that's a very specific question that if it is possible to have it with the photographer who you're trying to bring it to the school, like how they're going to do it. So these are the options, and now it's kind of peeling an onion. This is just the first layer. Like you have to like start thinking about how to do it in the best way to accommodate everything, no child left behind, and to maintain the safety protocol. I mean, those are
Yes.
the biggest two agendas. And then how you do it, you work out with the principal. I'm sure all the principals have a better insight in how the school works in terms of safety protocols. And then you start the discussion from there. This is just to say, okay, look, we have a yellow light to pass, and now you take it to the next level.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go to some of the questions here. Rosa C is asking for some good photographers that will offer online purchase. Right now, some of the schools have contracts already with photographers, so it's a little tricky situation. You may still want to talk to your photographer to see what online options, let them know the options that you have to work with and see what they can offer. I know that Rashmi and I spoke to Class Act, which I believe they take about 50% of our district.
Right.
So
about
that was
15.
why we wanted to pick his brain to see like what options and kind of meet us in the middle of where we are. And those are the options that he had. So other photographers might have different options, and if they have really good ones, please share them with us. But that's the guidelines that we just mentioned. After speaking to your principal and coming up with what your school feels comfortable doing, then I would have the conversation with the photographer to see what options.
And the thing too about Class Act, they're willing to work with us, whatever, regardless of how we want our guidelines to be. I think that's a really good thing for Dan.
Let's see, I see someone put in Great Neck Photographers as a contact info if you don't have. Like I said, most of these schools have people that they work with already. Let me see.
I see two hands up. I think.
In the meantime, while I'm reading the ones in the chat, Annie, you had another question?
Yes, two questions actually in regards to, so indoor is completely off the table, correct? Even for in-person students? I just want.
I would have that conversation with,
That's a school level
Yeah.
decision? Okay, so for in-person, but it's completely off the table for remote students to come into the building, correct?
yes.
Okay, that's the first question. Second question is in regards to the permits. So if they're using the facilities, like even the playground area, and it is after hours, we do usually have to file a permit. Is there potentially difficulty for the school to get these permits approved for this purpose? Because I know they're being a little tight on permit approvals now.
That's something that Louis and I will check into. I don't know if that will be a difficult piece to do outside, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I know that in our school, when we've had carnivals or we've had any outdoor, we've never had an issue getting a permit. Most of the time,
Right, it's
people are
just
not
actually-
using the parks at that time, school time anyway.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
just during the pandemic, it's been a little more difficult. Not
Yeah.
usual cases. It's usually very easy to file.
And the thing is, you get a permit for the day that, if you don't get the day you want it, you get a day that's available. So it's not
Right.
like you're not gonna get it.
Right, so we'll
With the
ask.
remote, but the remote learners you could set up a time just for remote for outdoor tent. They can come to that, right?
Yes. So what I've been hearing with other schools and speaking with other principals, that they're saying that it's actually become a little bit more difficult to get a permit approved for things like picture day. So those aren't going through as easily as they used to when we used to submit a permit. So I was just wondering if that is still a hurdle that principals and schools need to go through,
Well,
or,
we'll ask about it. We'll see.
okay.
Yeah.
So wait,
And-
I have a question, Annie. When you were asking that, why do we need permits for
If
after
it's
school
after, if
hours?
there's
Like,
after hours, for example, if it's after dismissal.
but it's okay. So the option is like, so that's a discussion. It's like, why can't the photographers come at, are you talking about in case if they're remote students? So if the
Yes, so
school
we
doesn't
don't,
want them to come during the daytime?
yeah,
they
so we
want,
don't
okay.
want any of
But
the
what-
children crossing paths or cohorts mingling. So we want to make sure all of the in-person students have left the building, has dismissed, then the in-person, that would be optimal. But if it's not possible, if permits aren't
Yeah.
getting
So
approved, then
yes.
we will coordinate to do it during instruction time, but the cohorts will not be crossing paths at all.
So the final piece that I didn't mention to you guys is once you meet with your principal and you design your safety plan, your principal has to submit that to me.
Okay.
So so that would be included in that, Annie. And if there is any kind of complication, so we would say for your principal to first try to apply. But the question that I would kind of come back and ask is, you know, would parents be doing that alone without staff members, right? Because the key thing is here, we don't want to have any kind of picture day event that would trigger a school closure.
Right.
Right.
So I think all of those questions would come up as you sit with your principal and kind of have those conversations. Then you write up the plan, and I might ask a follow-up question to the principal around that. But we will definitely ask about the permits.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then just for everybody else's, so what I'm doing at my school is we set up a Google form and sent it out to our families just to gauge the interest, just to see what the numbers would look like in terms of interest for our remote students and also our in-person students. That way it'll help you kind of get an understanding of the numbers that you're dealing with in terms of scheduling, and because we're trying to do time slots to see if that's even feasible, if we can't even offer picture day at all for the schools. So that might be an option that you might want to put out to your families, just to see what kind of numbers you're going to deal with.
So I guess, Annie, that's after individual schools had that conversation with the principals, and then these things are so specific to the school community. So instead of, we cannot make that statement for each and every school, but that's a great option.
Yeah.
If that option works for a school, then yes, that's something to look into it. And I just wanted to make sure that parents understand, or we all understand, that we can't ask for something different. Remote student at this point cannot go inside the school. So we can't even think about remote students going inside the building for a picture. So just like we have to like start thinking in that pattern. If something that is not even on the table, we can't ask for that. So remote student taking a picture will either be outside the school in the yard, or in the studio, or uploading the picture. Most probably, from what I think, these picture day events probably will end up happening either online or in the schoolyard. I personally don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Danielle, that why would any principal allow a picture day event to be in the school, inside the building? I mean, that makes it the whole protocol.
I'm thinking about, and I agree with you, Rashmi. I don't think that should be, I think the rule should be that, right? That the remote kids don't go to school. But then I'm thinking about, you know, some schools may have, you could have kids wait outside with their parents, and come into the gym really quick, take the picture and leave because the door is right there. But that's not every school, right? Not every
Right.
school has those opportunities. So we don't want to say, let's have a discussion about having in-school pictures for remote students. Because
Right.
if you do it during the day, you have to make, first of all, there's all the areas of the schools are being used during the day. There's like nothing, that's not being utilized. You have your library being utilized, you have your gyms, your cafeterias. So there wouldn't even be a place to have it in many of our schools. But you also don't want to start bringing kids into your schools where you mix clusters or certain areas, where then kids, will come and be for classroom situations. And now there's that could be an issue. So like we said, what we talked about at the district level is having options for parents and then discussions at the school level, right? What's possible.
Yeah, and I think the principal is like the best person to speak to because they're in the school. We're not in the school. So they're
Right.
in the school. They know the spacing. They know how it works visually. They see who's intermingling with who. So they would probably be the best person to give the best ideas at this point.
Right. Let's not make it complicated for them because they already have so much in their plate in terms of safety and this and that. Let's just make it easy for them so we can work out for our parents, because we know as a parent we want these pictures, and make it easy for the principal so they are more lenient to say, yes, it's a feasible option. Let's work it together. If we start asking for parents to come in the building, then the discussion takes in a different direction.
Yeah, and Rashmi, I know you said you had to go at
Yeah.
7:30. It's
Yeah,
7:31.
I have to go.
Thank you. I'll take over from here. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for all your help, Rashmi. Have a good
Thank
night.
you, Rashmeen.
Okay, bye guys. See ya.
Okay, so there's
Princess.
a question with Dana.
Is
Dana?
my thing on? Where's my-
Hi, yes. I have a two-part question actually. And I apologize, maybe I misheard earlier. It was mentioned that usually, the PTA would run, the picture day event. So this year, is the PTA excluded from being present on picture day? Like, are members not allowed to be there, or is that allowed?
We want as little parents as possible there. So if you had 10 parents that ran picture day, that is not allowed.
Okay, I'm just thinking we'll probably only have myself there, honestly. I just wanted to make sure that that's okay.
I mean, that's a question for your principal.
Okay. Thank you. And then my second question would be then, if remote students are coming to the schoolyard, say for picture day, should the health screener, be filled out that day for individuals? Or is that something?
Yeah, that's once again part of the conversation, because it depends who's going to be with them.
Okay.
It depends on what that looks like. So that would be a question that once you guys have that discussion with your principals and then the plan submitted to me, I would follow up with a follow-up question around that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there were some suggestions in the chat about, here's one from Deborah. My suggestion would be to have a line in all written communication about picture day, that if you do not want to partake in any picture option, check this box or something along those lines. This way you can take them off your follow-up list. I would always say follow-up, because you just never know. If you send a letter at the beginning of the year, unless you have a parent who has already told you they don't want their child photographed, then I would respect that. But they might forget. If they did send that in, I would just always follow up. Just to, you don't want that problem, especially after the yearbook has been printed. So try to avoid that. Annie says, like a waiver for all families that haven't submitted a photo, so it's something they needed to actively opt out. Okay. Okay, and yeah, these are conversations you have to have first with your principal. Make your plan and then reach out to your photographer and see what they're offering, and then I'm sure you will come up with something for. And remember, this is just for graduating students, 5th grade and 8th grade. We're starting off. This is not for the rest of the school yet. Until we have perfected that avenue, then we can then open it up. So we're starting there. So at this time, I just want to, I don't see any other questions, and we're going to move on with the agenda. We have our guest speaker today, and she's from the Art Studio, and her name is Rebecca. And this is in the process of us looking for virtual events or programming for our children. And we came across the Art Studio, which was already in, I would say, in pandemic mode before the pandemic. I think they saw where it was going, and they have a good head start on this whole virtual thing. So without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to Rebecca from the Art Studio.
Thank you so much, Francis, and hi, everyone. Most importantly, I hope that you're safe and healthy at home. As Francis shared, my name is Rebecca Schweiger, and I'm the founder of the Art Studio New York, which is New York City's #1 rated art school. And I actually, appropriate to all of us being home, I started the studio 15 years ago in my small 1-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. And I'm very grateful to share that I have my apartment back to myself, and we're now in a beautiful space. However, we've been closed since March, and as a response to obviously coronavirus and shutdowns, we launched our whole studio online. And one of our big focuses is creating enriching, uplifting, and really engaging art classes for kids, K through 5, 6 through 8, and high school. And I'd love to invite, I'd love to engage and just learn a little bit more from you also, in terms of what your experiences are. My experience has been that kids are really desperate, and families too, parents, are really desperate to bring enrichment programs for kids that are also safe. So I'd love to find out, if you want to throw in the chat, have you found maybe what type of need are you finding the kids to have, or parents to have, or the community to have? One thing that Francis and I talked about is that now, kids don't socialize with each other as much. Or if kids are remote full-time, or they're even home after school, they're just engaging much less with each other. And things like sports and, just different activities, so many things aren't existing as they were. So we are now at the Art Studio running over 100 classes online. And we're finding that we work with many, many schools. We work with all of the branches of the Queens Library, all of the branches of the New York Public Library, and schools at this point all over the country. And we're really finding that parents and schools and administrators will tell us they can see a difference in the kids from before, let's say, a 45 or 50-minute art class to, not even an hour later. And so I wanted to share, a lot of people think, okay, art, that's nice, that's fun. What a lot of people don't realize is that there are many, many studies, including from Harvard University, that have proven how great art can be for the development of children, and especially during this time for stress relief, anxiety relief, and for their own personal growth. So I just wanted to share a handful of what is ultimately like a very long list of benefits for kids when they engage in art classes. Everything from language skills, just enabling kids to communicate more clearly, expand their vocabulary, and really engage and communicate with their peers. comprehension skills. And what you'll see quickly is that this is multidisciplinary. So if a child is taking, let's say, a comics drawing class once a week for an hour, it's almost like a waterfall. And there can be a lot of improvement, even in the best student. There's more positive development through creativity. Literacy, art can help children with their writing skills, reading skills, listening, speaking, and really being able to express their ideas. It's been proven that kids who take art classes as they're growing up end up with a higher IQ. So it literally impacts the center of the brain or centers of the brain that allows a child to develop intellectually. Creativity improves problem-solving skills, critical thinking, visual learning, improves concentration. It allows children to feel calmer. So we've worked with, over the years, many families who will say, I don't know what's going on in your art studio on Wednesdays, but my child comes home the calmest we ever see him. And it lasts like a good 3 or 4 days. And then a few days later, we're counting the days to Wednesday. And there are so many other life skills, ability to follow directions, improved social skills, teamwork, a sense of responsibility, conflict resolution, improved behavior, and as I shared, a lot of enhanced academic success. So I could go on and on and on. It's an ongoing list. And Stephanie just said, are we a vendor with the DOE? We work with, yes, we are certified to work with schools and programs that work through the DOE. And we ultimately team up with schools and individuals. And as Francis and I are speaking, as well as with Deborah, we customize according to what you need. So whether it's a specific age, sometimes administrators will ask us, can you link up a certain type of creative activity to match with our third grade history lesson? Or, we have a certain type of diverse demographic specific to our school, like the Queens Library that we work with. They will let us know the interests, the demographic, the background according to the branch, and they'll ask us to create very site-specific projects that we know the kids are really going to love. I'll also share that, especially right now with the pandemic, no one wants more work. No one wants to have to buy supplies. And if it's not, I was sharing this prior with Francis and Deborah, if it's not easy, don't do it. Certainly with a special activity. So a lot of our programs are pencil and paper. That's all you need, a pencil with an eraser and paper. And we really set things up to be fun for the kids, first and foremost, and in a format where they're really interacting with each other. So they're interacting, they're talking, they're learning, they're having fun, they're being challenged, and they're sharing their creative process. I'll just share a little bit more, and of course, I'm happy to answer any questions. The types of classes range. We have a lot of drawing classes, whether it's drawing animals or portrait drawing. Our comics classes are very, very popular. We weave in sometimes current events, like I said, history or literacy, depending on what's wanted. And at this point, we find that just for kids to have that creative outlet is something they can look forward to in a way that they can really have fun in a very safe and enriching way, for themselves and with their peers. And so I will share our information in the chat. And I will also share information because adults need enrichment too. We all need to de-stress. And I myself teach a free class every Sunday night. Of course, no pressure, but a lot of participants from all over the world have shared that it is their 1 hour a week where they completely de-stress. So of course, you're all invited anytime, and that's free. And I will share my contact information. And if you have any questions or you're wanting to arrange, whether it's a special class just once or something weekly, I would certainly be delighted to talk to you. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
Yes, and I just want to point out that Deborah and I in our school are working with the art studio to see how we can incorporate these programs into our kids, and we're making them grade specific. So each grade might be learning something different. And it's very flexible, and that's one of the reasons why we're happy to be talking to you about these programs. So does anyone have any questions for Rebecca? I don't see any hands raised. Well, her information is in the chat box, so feel free to reach out to her.
Hi. Sorry to interrupt you, but I put my hand up, but you didn't see it. I have a question for her.
Sorry.
Rebecca, do you have classes that include parent and child involvement?
Yes, we do. We do. We actually have one coming up this Friday, and we create them a lot. So basically, anything that we do, but certainly for many classes that we've created for parents and kids, it's a really fun and nurturing way for adults and kids to interact and engage and have an activity together. So for example, this Friday, I think it's this Friday, we're doing a class based on Tom and Jerry, more of like a cartooning class that parents can do with their kids. And we've done a lot of different classes. So, you know, the subject matter and the type of class is always customized according to what it is that you're wanting. And so, yes, this is something we do quite a bit of.
Thank you, Stephanie. Does anyone else have a question? I don't see any hands up. So if your hand is up, just unmute yourself and just ask your question.
Hi, Rebecca.
Go ahead.
So now, if somebody wants to take a class, I'm assuming they go to your website, theartstudionyc.com, and they pick the class that they want to take that night or that day, or is it a reoccurring thing that you sign up for the same class every week?
That's a great question, Eleni.
Eleni, yes, thank you.
It depends on what you want. So for example, we offer about 100 classes a week already through our studio. Some of the classes might be what we call a one-time class. You know, it might be 1 hour on a Saturday and that's it. There might be another class that is weekly for 8 weeks. The classes that we bring to schools depends on what you want. So for example, the conversation that Francis and I are having is completely all about, well, what is going to work for each grade? What's going to work for the kids who are only remote? What's going to work for the gifted and talented kids? What's going to work for the kids who are in school? Where do we want to maybe offer something for combined grades? What happens if a child is coming in person, but then has to be home for 2 weeks? And so, you know, there's a lot of moving pieces. And so ultimately, we're customizing it according to those needs. And so that wouldn't be found on our website. However, what could be found on our website is at least information about some of the classes we tend to offer, but it's not limited to that. So, you know, what you see is not necessarily what you get. What you see is the starting point, and then, you know, we can expand from there. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
there's a question in the chat, and I know that you sent us the answer, so if I'm saying something incorrectly, just correct me. What is
Sure.
the max number of participants per class? And I know that you mentioned it can go up to 100, but that you would always recommend about in between the max 25, so that you would like to interact with them and their drawing to have that social interaction.
Yeah, it really depends. Like, for example, if you're wanting the one-on-one interaction, then I would say a max of 25. And when I say one-on-one, like I can see on my screen a number of your names, Christine, Danielle, Francis, Eleni, Aiden, Annie, Esther, Stephanie, Elaine, etc. And so within the size of, let's say, if there were 25 of us, I would be able to talk one-on-one with each of you, and you'd be able to engage with each other. When there's many more than 25, and even let's say up to a couple hundred, we still engage a lot. We do it through the chat. And it is actually amazing how much engagement can happen through the chat. And so there is engagement, it's just a different engagement. And if you have 150 kids in 45 minutes, maybe not everyone is going to engage in the same way. But to really answer the question, there's not a total max. So for example, there's a recommendation if you're wanting, again, that one-on-one interaction. I've taught classes with 250 kids. And again, it's a different experience. It's not as face-to-face engaging. And yet, sometimes for kids, for them to just see each other's names and faces on the screen is great. They're still maybe chatting or texting each other, or they're just seeing each other, or people are raising their hand. And so they're still in it together. And the other thing is, regardless of the size, we'll have everyone hold up their artwork as the class unfolds. So there are different ways of engaging, but it just depends on how much and what type of engagement. And then it just always depends on what you want and what the budget is and what's possible and how we can really create something that's meaningful regardless.
Thank you, Rebecca. I don't see any hands up and I don't see any more questions in the chat. So going once, going twice. If you do have a question, just unmute yourself. Well, thank you, Rebecca. And I'm
Thank you
sure
so
they'll reach
much.
out to you, and hopefully, we can't wait to get started in our school. So we're definitely going to get back to you. We're just trying to work out some logistics at our end.
I understand.
Thank you, Rebecca. And if you're more than welcome to hang on. Our meeting finishes at 8:30. So if you want to just stick around in case a question pops up,
Sure.
you're more than
I'll
welcome.
stick around for a bit. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to invite Deborah Ferrara from 209 back, because 209, the last time you gave us an idea of a virtual auction. And so we actually finished the virtual auction. So she wanted to give you some feedback on that fundraiser. Go ahead, Deborah.
Thank you, Francis. You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Because I won something in the auction. It's this little earbud thing, and I'm wearing it for the first time. So yes, we finished our auction. We're just kicking it off last month. We wound up making over $1,700. It went so smoothly. Everyone was able to pay without a problem. We had one parent who wanted to pay with a check. They were able to bid for the full 2 weeks. We were able to watch the back end. It was fun. Some parents, got into little bidding wars together. There was a lot of joking around. It was nice to see the parents talking about it at pickup and drop off and hearing such good feedback about it. Once the auction ended without a hitch, the website 32 Auctions is amazing. I really recommend it. It was so user-friendly, and right down to payment and pickup, it was great. We had put the option for pickup that people would contact me or our PTA email address. And they did. We got all the stuff to them. They paid via PayPal through the website. And like I said, one parent paid by a check. And it wound up, it was $1,700 profit for very minimal work. The setup in the beginning with the Amazon wish list, I would say, was the most work. We had one day where we assembled everything, and other than that, it was great. So if anyone's interested in doing it, I know I told Francis, I want to help you. I want to help you do an auction. It was that much fun, and it was very, very successful, and I would recommend it to anyone if anyone's interested in doing something like that.
Well, we have about 34 schools in our district, so get ready, Deborah.
I am so ready.
But I just want to say that this idea actually came about from our principal, who said, how about try a silent auction? And then the PTA took it, brought it back to the PTA, and then we came up with all these other ideas. So, you know, this brainstorming with our schools is the best thing to do, especially in this time when, you know, we're inventing the wheel, so to speak. So thank you, Deborah. And Deborah, can you just put your email or in the chat so that if anyone wants to reach out with any questions. At this time, also, Annie from PS242 wanted to share something about a virtual Taekwondo class. So if Annie, if you're ready to share.
Yeah. So it's Champions Taekwondo. They have many locations here locally in College Point, in Flushing, even all the way out in Elmhurst and Astoria and out east as well. But this particular location is the Flushing location. It's right on Northern Boulevard, right next to the Flushing Y, across from Flushing High School, between, I think, Bound and Parsons. So it's pretty convenient for all of our families. And my daughter herself, she's been going to the Taekwondo school since she was 4. So she started off as like a little Tigers, and they've actually been very accommodating to families and to our students and to the community as well, in offering free virtual Taekwondo classes. So they are teaching both in person and also virtually. I'm going to put their contact information in the chat, and also like 2 Facebook videos and also their YouTube channel, so you can get kind of an idea of what they're all about. But they are great. They do amazing work with the children, and the children, they really engage them. And they even did belt promotions virtually and in person, and they hand delivered all the testing material to each of the students themselves. You know, the boards, the belts, the new uniforms, the certificates, the trophies. Each one of the children got their personal deliveries. So they're really flexible in terms of, you know, I know schools were looking for activities for both family nights and also things that may be programming. It doesn't have to be a program, it could be a one-time thing, or just information you can give your families so that they can do it on their own, because I know a lot of parents are struggling to find, you know, activities for their children, because especially for the remote children, you know, they don't have the PE, or they don't have the regular physical movement that they should be getting when they were in person. So this is just another option for them. And they're just a local business that that I'm trying to give a shout out to, but they do help a lot of local businesses themselves. So they donated a lot of food to the nurses and the first responders. They are affiliated with Operation Child Rescue, I think it's called. It's Operation CR. So they're all about, you know, helping the children locally. So if anybody has any questions, I'll also put my email.
And if you could put their website, I don't see their website there as well, so people can look at that. And thank you, Annie. Thank you, Deborah. And at this time, that concludes our speakers and all our presentations. So if you have any additional questions, please raise your hand or unmute yourself or write it in the chat. We'll have a moment because we did really well on time today. Anyone has any questions? I have a question, Danielle. Are you for the high school? I mean, I'm not the high school, sorry, the middle schools. Now that they're saying they're opening up again, is it the same way they were before? Or is it 5 days?
It's 5 days.
So 5 days if the school can accommodate it.
Yes, yes. So
So it might be the same way it was before for some.
No. We have worked with our schools since November, when we were also working with our elementary schools during the 5-day process. So we actually just got our last elementary school online. So now all of our elementary schools are 5 days a week. From my understanding, and we're going to do the smooth opening, the soft opening on Thursday. All of our schools have programmed to be open 5 days. We do want to ensure that staffing stays consistent and that they have all the staff available to them. We are in a good place. All of our schools have put in requests for additional teachers. So we're tracking that, and we seem to be okay for Thursday. So, but the target right now and what we're planning for is to have all of our middle schools open 5 days a week, all students.
Okay.
All students who chose blended learning.
Correct. Yes. Thank you, Louis.
Sorry.
Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you, Danielle. Anyone? Okay, so that concludes our meeting. It's 7:59. I think that's record time. If
Very
no one
good
has
time.
any questions, I'm going to conclude. I would like to adjourn this meeting. Can I get someone to second that? Eleni, Christine, thank you. And I want to thank Mr. Mango. Thank you so much for being here and always giving us information and being flexible with us.
And thank you. I love the parent presentations and seeing the things that you guys are doing. So thank you for your creativity and for everything you guys do for our kids to continue to do.
Thank you, Esther, for being our right-hand person all the time. And Louis, thank you so much for hosting these meetings.
No
I want
problem.
to thank all the parent leaders out there for doing what you do. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And I want to thank all the principals and parent coordinators who are here tonight. And thank you also for participating. Thank you to our speakers, Rebecca from the Art Studio, Annie, and Deborah for speaking tonight. And on behalf of Rashmi and I, and Christina and Laney, have a great night.
Night.
Good night.
Thank you for
Everybody.
coming.